Ramesh Venkataraman. I am also part of Call Zeiss as the portfolio manager taking care of quality management system, information security, and data privacy. And I am also part of FDPPI, Foundation of Data Protection Professionals in India, as a honorary director. Absolutely feel free to get in touch with me for any kind of further discussions. Looking forward to hearing from you. Have a great Just want to share my thoughts on how the various CXOs roles with respect to privacy could be, data protection officer or chief data privacy officer, or even CISOs, some organizations where they perform the role of taking care of privacy, right? What one has to really think about implementing, ensuring the adherence to the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 of India. As you know, very quickly, the DPDPA 2023 is unique in its own ways, right? Some of the concepts are fairly new. For example, the consent manager, performing the data audit for significant data fiduciary organizations, making the privacy policy or privacy notice applicable as 22 languages as prescribed in the Schedule 8 of the Indian Constitution. Some of things are fairly new. It's not available in many of the existing laws globally, right? Having said that, we need to have a strong focus on, right, strategy, approach on how I'm going to implement this. From my experience, I would like to share a few bullets that how I would approach. The first bullet is to understand, as usual, the scope and applicability of the law. We need to have clearly that it clearly addresses it's applicable only for the digital data. Fair enough. Having said that, what is my role, right? Because we are talking about data fiduciary, a role called a significant data fiduciary, data processor, and so on. Of course, data processors is very silent in this law, but still we need to think about it. Because subsequently, with respect to establishing a system, down the line, is purely dependent on the applicability, understanding the context of the organization, understanding the role of my organization, and so on. So that is the most important point. Second is, obviously, I need to have a kind of good understanding on the obligations of the identified role. Again, it differs, right? Because significant data fiduciary need to have a data protection officer. Now again, data protection officer need to be based in India, or he can be a full-time employee, or he's going to be a contract employee. So we need to have more clarity. If I'm a consent manager, right, an organization, then I need to have a different focus. So we need to understand the obligations of that particular role applicable to this law. The next bullet, obviously, is going to be interesting to me to understand the rights of the data subject so that I have to adhere to it. Right to access, right to all these things, fine. But, establishing a grievance redressal mechanism, handling the child's data. It's talking about verifiable consent. Consent plays a vital role. So I need to have a full-fledged understanding system, coming into picture. And of course, I need to have a strong technological organizational measures to protect the privacy of my data principles, right? Countermeasures we are talking about. That's where some of the frameworks would help you and me. Even I'm part of FDPP, an organization where we are talking about a framework called the DGPSI, Digital Governance and Data Protection Standard of India. Beautifully, it comes with 12 top-level principles and 50 model implementation specifications, which you don't have to go through, let's say, ISO 27000 or 2770 and so on, this particular framework. So we need to adapt to a particular framework to understand and how we are going to implement it. Obviously, one has to take care of the cross-border transfers. Of course, at this point, it is very simple. It's allowed anywhere. But I'm sure that in the coming days, the notification of the Data Protection Board would talk about more how we are going to, like in GDPR cases, we all know, right? Whether it is a BZR, whether it is a SEC, and so on. So we need to have a clear idea about it. On top of it, obviously, we need to have a strong governance structure. None less than a director, who is part of the board need to be part of this governance structure, because we are talking about a hefty fine coming into picture. So we need to have a top-down approach, obviously. So we need to have a strong governance mechanism and a skilled, empowered data protection officer to be in place to act as a single point contact internally within the organization and externally. The externally, when I talk about, could be the point or single point contact for your data principles to regulatory authority called Data Protection Board and so on, right? And a very interesting point is that we obviously the time has come for us to relook at all the vendor contracts, because many of the things we need to bring in right to audit clause. Obviously, you need to prepare a due diligence to understand that data breach, because finally you as a data fiduciary organization is going to be responsible for the data what you are going to hold. And accordingly, with all these things, we develop a system, whether it is a DGPSI, whether it is a NIST framework, whatever we look at it, any kind of framework, as a best practice, establish your system. And the last but not least, obviously, is to create the kind of privacy culture, awareness within the organization, because the people are the most important ingredient in any organization, and they are the kind of data owners, I would say, at every point, and they need to be sensitized that look, this is the kind of law, and we need to adhere to it, and etc. So the people playing a vital role is important to the organization, and hence create a kind of awareness, trainings, skill competent development, upskilling, etc. has to happen. I think, in a nutshell, right, we need to have a strong strategy paper in place, and identify the milestones. Like, say, for example, breach notification. It plays a vital role. So I need to have an incident and breach management policy, how to handle, right? And the communication plan need to be in place, that who will be talking to, obviously DPO or right a senior person with respect to regulatory authority, to the press in case of any breach and so on. So we need to apply a holistic view, and some proven framework like DGPSI, what I talked about as part of FDPPI, would be of hand at this point. Hope it was useful, and have a great day ahead. Thank you.